Single parenting is not easy. Nor is it the formula to raising children, but life does happen, right? But for some reason, more often than not, when we think of single parenting, we hear of the single mother. Yeah, single mom. It's been for years, that's all we hear about. Single mom, single mom, single mom. And if you think of single parenting, you really kind of just think of single mom. Well, today we're not doing that. On When Black Men Talk, we're going to talk about single fathering. Yeah, you heard me correctly. A single father. I want to welcome a gentleman that basically I came across. I'm training his daughter. I'm a personal trainer. I'm training his daughter. And she kept speaking highly of her dad, which I love to hear. And then she says something that was magical. My father raised me and my daughters by himself. Woo! So when that said, I said, you know what? I need to talk to your dad. Yeah, I want to talk to your dad. And I have the opportunity, and I'm blessed to be able to speak with this gentleman on When Black Men Talk. And I've been excited for this episode to come forth. I'm happy that we can get this done. I want to welcome Mr. Les to the broadcast, or the episode, I should say. How you feeling, sir?
I'm great, man. But everything is what it is, so I'm ready to let it out because my children, like I said, they all want to know what's going on too. So, and they might learn some things about me that they don't know.
Oh man, here we are. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that, man. Let's go back, Mr. Les, when you were a child, because we all, believe it or not, our foundations kind of start. I shouldn't say kind of. Our foundations start there. We go back to when Mr. Les was a little young child. And let's hear about your childhood, sir.
Okay, well, I can go back to like 4 years old, I believe.
Okay.
At 4 years old, somehow my mother and father separated. And somehow my father was in the service, so we did a lot of traveling when I was a baby. So I was born in D.C. But my mother brought us to North Carolina to visit my father. And for the next 4 years, we were lost, me and my brother Larry. My father just took us, and he was just like in the service. We went to Kentucky, Texas. We were like all over the place, just enjoying life, not knowing what even happened. And at the age of 7 or 8, I moved to Connecticut. My mother found us. Some general gave us back to my mother, and we were in New Haven, Connecticut on Legion Avenue. I ain't never known about Legion Avenue. And then by then, I really didn't know anything about pretty much city life, because most of all my life was like country and farms and dust storms and all that kind of stuff. So it was like a whole new generation for me. But from 8 on, I was a Canadian, and and I did what I had to do. I went to like Stratton Street Elementary School, Liberty Street Middle School, and I went to Fairhaven High. And that was a year before they built Lehigh, because then I went to Lehigh and I graduated in Lehigh in 72.
Okay. Mr. Les, I'm going to stop you for a second. I want to go back because some things you said there are profound. And I want to go back to that time when you said when you moved to, and your father for a period of time, you was with your dad without your mom. What do you remember in a little more detail about that? Because I would think when people hear that, or when I hear that, and I hate to even throw this word out there, traumatic, whatever the case may be, but that could be traumatic for a child at that point, in a sense where one child is kind of moved away from the mother and exclusively with the dad, and maybe not understand what's going on, but you have nothing to do about it. What were some thoughts, if you can recall, that was going on in your head around that particular time?
Well, because I knew my dad, and he was with us when the day I was born until the day him and my mother separated. It's like he wasn't a person I didn't know. So when he got me, okay, well, this is where I need to be right now. And that's how I looked at it. And me and my brother just went on, and we were always together. So by me having my older brother, like we're 11 months apart. So him and I were always together. So I think if I was by myself, it might have been a situation. But by the two of us being together, we hung together. And I never remember even talking about it after we got back to my mother.
Okay. All right.
We knew my mother, so I mean, so now we're not going with people we don't know, or being around people we didn't know from day one.
Okay. So did your father
Huh?
Did you at that time? Did your father explain to you why you was with him and not with your mom at
No,
any
well,
point?
back then kids didn't ask questions, so you know, like he did. We went to school, and it was weird because when we started school, me and my brother started in the same grade, and I was like, he should have been a grade ahead of me, and that was how it was just like different. So me and him grew up in the same grade all the time. So we was always now I got competition with my brother. And we ran track, we did all play baseball and everything. But now everything I did, I had to do. My brother was my biggest competition.
Understand.
It wasn't like there was any other kids. So we outran everybody. We had a ball. You know, and I never could catch my brother. He was faster than me for some reason.
Okay. All right.
But,
So back to life in Connecticut with your mom in Connecticut and growing up as a young man. We'll go back to that point there.
okay, well, I remember Legion Avenue, and we used to live over top of pharmacy on Legion and Day. Legion Avenue and Day Street. There was a pharmacy underneath us, and I think that was our landlord at the time. I don't know who it was, but we lived there for a long time. And from there, we went to Washington Avenue. And I think most of all
Okay.
my childhood experiences were from Washington Avenue because I had a ball on Washington Avenue. And it was a community where, like Dixwell Avenue and Congress Avenue, if they came to Washington Avenue, they had to deal with everybody that lived in the neighborhood, not just one person. You couldn't come in our neighborhood threaten nobody. Even if I didn't like the person, I couldn't let you threaten me from my neighborhood.
Yeah. It's funny you're
huh?
bringing up some areas of the city that's changed dramatically. But I remember that, like you said, you came into our neighborhood, you couldn't basically, even if you liked the person, you couldn't come in there and just kind of like, yeah, that's how it was back then.
Yeah, no, we wasn't having that. No.
Yeah.
But then we played sports against each neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like when we had basketball or football games, we would play in other different neighborhoods to see which neighborhood had the best athletes and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's the key point. I want to hit that real quick because we did the same thing where I grew up in New Hornville, Reed Street
Okay.
area, Shelton Avenue. And ironically, even though you wouldn't like the other kids coming into the neighborhood, if they came into our neighborhood, it's not like we fought. We found a way, just like you said, we would basically play them in basketball, play them in football, play them in sports to basically prove that we were better than they were in a sense. Not to where currently now you go in the wrong neighborhood, you dress with the wrong color, you may not come out alive. Back then, it was more so where we may not like you because you came in, but we're going to find a way to show you where you don't really belong.
Right. And then everybody, it was hands up. It wasn't no sticks and knives and guns and none of that crazy stuff either. Even if you fought man to man, and if somebody said, "Man, well, you didn't beat him," they pull you off and tell you that's enough. So you didn't. And then like you and that same guy might be friends the next day. You never
the next
know,
day. The next, actually,
the
that
next
point,
day,
they may start a friendship that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much different now, man. So much different. So much.
Yeah.
Let's go to your high school life, man. How was high school for you, yes, sir?
Man, high school was great. I was I played football. I didn't play basketball, but when I was in high school, my because we had I think our principal was white, but our vice principal was black, and he gave me a whole lot of encouragement. And then like growing up on Legion Avenue, I had an uncle pretty much like Dan Blackman that had a mechanic shop. And at 9 years old, I started being his helper, like sweeping, cleaning up, hold this, hit this with the hammer, and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up getting mechanical skills, and I went to Lee High, and then I went to, I'm trying to think of the school, the trade school. But I went to high school a half a day, and I went to trade school a half a day.
Okay.
Eli Whitney, that's what. Eli Whitney, yeah, that's where I went.
That's the high school I graduated from. Yeah, Eli Whitney. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, I went there half a day to learn to be a mechanic. But when I got there, the teacher realized I knew just as much as he did. So me and him just fixed cars and got a little extra change. You know what I mean? He had like 2 or 3 car lots that he he did work for. So they would bring alternators and starters and stuff over, and while he was teaching in class, I was installing parts. and and the thing about it, back then, they were paying me to go to Eli Whitney for trade school.
Wow.
You got to check every week for going. And then every day when we got end of the day, the teacher would give me a little money for doing the work while he was teaching the class. You know what I mean? So
nice.
I had a good life. Okay. You know what I mean?
I see. It's very nice.
And then I think at 21, I bought my first house.
Wow.
Right off of State Street. You know what I mean? I can't remember the name of the street.
Okay.
It was a two-family dwelling where you had upstairs and downstairs, and I wasn't married or nothing, but I had one kid. I mean, I'm sure I'll get it right now. I might have had 2 kids. You know what I'm saying? So we lived upstairs on the second floor, and I rented out the first floor. And people said that was crazy. I said, no, man. When I wake up in the morning, my floors are warm because, you know, the heat rises. I want to say.
I want to circle back to this 21-year-old buying a house, man, because the mentality of a young man at 21, really, you think about it. And I without saying your age, you can tell your age. I'm going to go back. That's probably about 50 years back for you. At 50 years ago, at 21, you had the mental mindset to own property, to gain property. That's amazing, man. That's not the average 21-year-old today or even back then.
Well, I guess I'm strange because I know my great-grandparents. And my great-grandparents had a house and had property across from their house that they had a garden in. And my great-grandfather and his brothers built the family church in North Carolina. And like every summer, we went to North Carolina. And we didn't realize what we were doing until later. What happened is my grandmother, we would go down there and prepare her for the winter because we go down, chop trees down. They didn't have no coal and nothing. They were burning wood stoves and stuff when I was a kid. So we learned how to separate dry wood from green wood because you had to have both of them to get a good fire.
Mm-hmm.
So we stacked up beside her house, like 8 feet high with wood, so she would make it through the winter with no problem. And what happened was, like, by my mother being a single mother, now she was able to work more. And when we got home, she had all our school supplies, school clothes, the 2 pair of shoes, because you had to get a new pair of sneakers and a new pair of shoes for church and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So helping my grandmother was helping her get together, but it was helping my mother where she didn't have to worry about us feeding us and making sure this and that happened, and she had more time to work and make and hustle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it all paid out. So this is how I guess I was raised, that you gotta have yours. And then, like, I had that uncle that told me, like, it don't make sense to pay for a house for somebody else when you can save some money and get a down payment and buy a house yourself.
Yes, sir.
So, that lesson, and all my daughters, most of them got houses now because they understand the principle.
There it is, man.
Loretta was the one that threw me off because when she got married, she actually told her husband, my father ain't never had me in no apartment, and I ain't doing that too long. I mean, so I'm like, that's what I like to, you know what I mean? So my thing is, like I said, okay, well, she got it, and she was one of the oldest. And she's
man.
Well, I got 9 daughters now, really, because I got my brother's daughter. But
okay,
she was number 3. But she was always smart, and her and her girlfriends used to switch boxes of books. She used to read all the time, so she was always up on the game.
Wow. But let's go back to, we're going to get to your children, but let's go back to owning a home and 2 children. I love the fact, too, that you bought a multi-family, a 2-family, because people may have caught on to this. Here again, at 21, you're buying a home, but you're not even, you're so aware of it. You're so smart. You're so in tune to where you're not paying for the whole property yourself.
Right.
you have a property that basically someone is helping you, if not paying all, paying a considerable amount for you to live and have a
They're
roof over
paying the
your head and
majority
for you
because
and your children.
by the time you get back your tax and your write-offs and everything, you really ain't paid nothing.
Hello.
You know, and that's why I tell my children, I said, if you get in your 20s, before you get 30, get a house, because if you do, if you get kids and they got to go to college, you can get different loans because you got something. You know what I mean? So, you know.
So I'm glad we went back to your childhood, sir, because see, all that information, all that comes out of your childhood. And like I said earlier, our foundation, a lot of our foundation, if not all our foundation, comes from what we're around, our environment, the good people that God put around us to allow us to be us who we are. And that's why I love going back, man. So with the home at 21, 2 children, we go back to there.
Right. We lived in that house. When I used to drive like a 40-footer truck for W.T. Grants. I used to deliver appliances and stuff during the day. So that was my regular job. But then when I got off work, I'd come home and work on 2 or 3 cars, make some extra money. And like all the money I made on my job went towards the house. And all the money I made on the side went to whatever I needed. But if the house needed something, I had to put it up, because when I got married, my wife didn't work.
Okay.
You know, so she her whole job was to take care of the kids. That was all she had to do. You know, and that was it.
Okay, let's go to the marriage. Let's go to the woman you chose to be your significant other, to be your wife. Right. How did that come to pass?
I met her at a party where my brother was giving in the apartment we had. My brother was wild. He always, he drank and smoked and did all that stuff. I never did none of that. And I think I was in the apartment and I was in my room and I played bass guitar. So I was in the back practicing because, we had a gig coming up. So, and all the people were saying I was being antisocial. I got something to do. They just hanging out doing nothing,
Mm-hmm.
So they kept bugging me, and I came out and they introduced me to her, and I met her, but she was trying to get to me like earlier, but I was just too busy doing what I had to do, survive. Because me and my brother at 16, I was 16, he was 17. We got our own apartment.
Wow.
And let my mother raise the rest of her kids, and we wouldn't be a burden on her. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So we, we did what we had to do. And my mother was like, when we first moved, me and my brother moved into the apartment, we couldn't even invite nobody over until after 9, 10 o'clock, because my mother show up and tell us what to do, no matter who, you don't care who partner with it. You know what I mean? She had, so we moved in there, and she bought us curtain rods and curtains. Y'all ain't gonna live any kind of way. Y'all put these curtains up, put a sheet over the window. That ain't well. She got them. But my mother was a strong woman. And that's why I didn't understand how when they make that issue about women can't raise men. I mean, no, my mother raised men.
Look out now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my mother was tough. She had a reputation in New Haven.
Okay.
I mean, she was that one that you didn't mess with.
Okay. So it makes me ask this: when you came to Connecticut, and your mother brought you to Connecticut, were you still in connection with your father at that point, or did you and your father lose connection?
No, my father was still in the service. My father was we stayed in touch. Like, he would send us dolls from Korea and stuff, but he went to Korea and all these different places in Germany. So we knew about him and what he was doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, my thing is, I till today, I don't know if he paid child support or not, because my mother did everything we had to do, and she didn't press no issues about, I need some help.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And if she needed something, she'd tell us to go do this or go do that. And then my mother could cook real good, so on weekends she was selling dinners and all this, and take this here and carry this up to Yale, to the hospital, to a friend in the hospital. We had to do.
Man. Yeah. Here it is, that foundation. Yeah. So we go back to the party. You're in the room playing, and you meet your initial lovely bride.
Yeah, and then while we out there partying, I'm talking to her. Somehow, her boyfriend comes in.
Uh-oh.
You know, and he want to know what I'm doing talking to his girl. I said, well, I don't see your name on it. I said, well, I can't help you, man. So he invites me outside.
Uh-oh.
And when I get outside, he got two of his boys out there. And they looked at me and said, oh, no, man, you don't want that. That's Les, man. You know, he a boxer. and him and his two buddies just ran away.
Oh, my goodness, man. Oh.
Because my brother Larry was into karate. He was down with that. You know what I mean? So they knew if whatever happened, wasn't going to be no jumping on nobody and that. You know what I mean?
Oh, my goodness.
And so after that happened now, I'm mad because he approached me. So now I'll say something to her. You know, I don't think I really was going to go there. But after that happened, I said, well, I might as well. Why not? You know, so we from that point on, we just started associating and talking and stuff. I don't know what happened or how they broke up or whatever went on. But, you know, after a while, it was me. And then she got pregnant. And oops, there we go.
Okay.
And I like to say, and I always told us, you know, whatever happens in my life, I'm gonna take care of my kids. And so, if you can have my kids, you with me now, and that's how it went.
Okay. How many children from the marriage? How many children did you and her have? 5. Okay.
And my thing is, I wanted a boy. If she had 5 girls.
Okay.
And well, you know, I got a set of twins too. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting part because I heard about the twins. I heard about the 5. Then I heard about the twins. And let's go to that point with the twins. What happened in life when the twins came along?
Well, the twins came along late. They were the last. They were 6 and 7.
Okay.
And numbers.
Okay.
They had Retta, Yvette, Eve, Tron, you know what I mean? And then like I had one after I got divorced, I had one more daughter and her name was Celeste. Her mother was named Sharon and my name is Les, so we just gave her half and half. So
okay.
Her name was Celeste and you know, and then that was number 8.
Okay. So Mr. Les, how did you become a single dad? How did that happen? How did that take place?
Well, I don't know. She decided she wanted to get a job. Okay, so you know, I'm like, if you want to get a job, get a job. But it ain't like she needed to because she had she had her own car, she had her own bank account. I mean, and all she had to do was take the kids to the doctor in school and whatever, and you know, and that was it. But by me, I think she missed out in life things that she wanted to do.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to say, you know, it's her fault or my fault. It's just like it came to that point because me not drinking and smoking and not really hanging out partying like that, you know, she went through that phase. I guess she wanted to do that. So she ended up getting a job at a liquor store, you know, a cashier, and some guy came in there and got her fancy, and, you know, and I think what happened is, I think I came home one day because I used to work for the dealership, the Oldsmobile dealership, and at this time the house that we were living in had a 4-car garage in the backyard and a lot on the side of it. So I had 2 guys that ran a shop for me while I worked at the dealership, and I had my own tow truck. So, you know, money wasn't an issue to me, you know, at the time. But she wanted to experience some things, and I'm like, well, you know, do what you got to do. The kids are old enough now to do what they got to do and take care. I know all the neighbors in the neighborhood. If something go down, somebody will get in touch with me, and I'm closer to the house than you are if something happened if you're not there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, I came home one day, I answered the phone, there was a guy on the phone. So, oh, this ain't right here. So I questioned it, and you know, there wasn't no arguing and fighting and all that. I said, well, you know, if that's your choice, that's what you do. I mean, you know, I did the best I could, and I made sure the kids had everything they wanted, and that's what I live for, to take care of my kids. And she understood that, but I told her, well, you know, you can go, and my kids can't go. And
Say
the
that
school
again.
was,
If you don't mind, Mr. Lester, I want to hear you say that again. You can go, but go ahead. Say that again, please.
you can go, but the kids stay here. That's pretty much how it was. And the twins at that time were only maybe 9 months old or something. They just started walking.
Wow. Here was how I like to do. The twins are 9 months old. Let's go through the ages of the kids at that point. If you remember, and I'm sure you do, the ages, you just remember the twins' ages, but the rest of the daughters, what were their ages at that point?
But most of the rest of them were in elementary school because there was still nobody was out of 5th grade by then. So they all were in elementary school, and the school was across, like my backyard, my front yard was in the street. The school was the next thing to it. The school playground was right across the street from my house.
Okay.
And Retta and her sisters were the only kids to be late every day.
Okay.
And I couldn't understand that. Y'all live right across the street from the school, but y'all can't get there on time.
Here's what I want to zero in on. I really do. We'll take a little time. I want to zero in on this because I love how you handle that situation. I do. And that's the type of situation that happens we don't hear about. And a lot of times it goes into something, a violent way, this and that. And your maturity, even at a young age, man, is amazing. But to handle that situation the way you did in a mature sense I love it. But what I want to really zero on is because most of the times when you hear about a single mother, it's always he did this, he did that, he wasn't this, and even if he didn't do it,
right,
the imagery pops up. And realistically, we don't hear about what a woman basically could have done to a single dad. And I don't want to gloss over that because I love what you said to her. You can go. And a lot of men would have said, you know what, I'm out of here. You take care of the kids the best way you can. I'm out of here. I'm mad. But I love what you said to her. Seriously.
Yeah, but my thing is she had no training to get any kind of job that could take care of her and my kids. So why am I going to give my kids to you?
Even with that being said, you know how many men would have basically at that point, out of anger, turned their backs on their kids and walked away and didn't care how those kids were raised, bro? You didn't do that. And I want to applaud you for that. I really do, because again, a lot of fathers, you got fathers today that are doing that for dumb reasons. And that's why I wanted you to repeat it. You can go. You can go. But they're staying here.
Yeah. And I don't think she believed me for some reason because, she went up, did what she had to do, and she ended up moving back to Connecticut. And took the guy with her. He ended up being an alcoholic and a drunk. So she was taking care of him.
Wow. So let me, we're here. Just to kind of get this together. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Here's the thing. So you said back in Connecticut. So where were you living at this time when she came back to Connecticut? You were living outside of Connecticut.
The same house.
So
she came back to Connecticut. The same house where I had the full garage and the and the tow truck. I had it made. I had it, because I worked for the dealership, and they knew I had a tow truck. So when a customer's car break down, I could just stop working and go pick it up and bring it back and get paid. Or either I could call one of the guys at the house. Look, man, you come down here and get the tow truck, because I drove the tow truck to work.
Now, Mr. Luss, I'm gonna say some things, man, and I say these things I'm getting ready to say are preference, and I'm gonna say out of respect.
Oh, right.
But to me, that's one of the major things I love about this podcast. We don't shy away from things that need to be said. If someone's feelings get hurt, you know what? Deal with it. Be an adult enough to deal with it.
Yeah.
Here's a woman, realistically, you think about it, and basically walking away from her children that she carried for 9 months, basically to be with a man and a lifestyle that she probably maybe thought that she didn't experience enough of, whatever the case, whatever the temptation was, to walk away from the children and to turn around and that man be what he was. Come on, man. And
But,
see,
but
that's
you
what
know,
I'm.
see, I look at it like this. You know, in her life, I might have been a boring person because all I did was my main concern was work and get something. You know, I didn't have time to hang out. I ain't going over. Nah, that's how you. And my thing, okay, you want to go hang out with your girls? Go. I take care of the kids. I see you later. I mean, that's how I looked at it. I didn't worry about,
But
all
Mr.
that.
Les, it's nothing new. You got women doing the same thing today.
Yeah,
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, that was many years ago.
yeah,
And what you're saying in your life, her life, she may have looked at you being boring. Boring pays the bills. Boring give you stability. Boring
yeah.
puts a roof over your head. Boring is raising the children that came out of your body. So I'm not saying born and not born, but as a person, as a human being, as a mother, what more do you want? And a lot of times they run around and act like I want this. You don't want that. You want stupidity. You want a drunk. Realistically, bruh. And that's what I'm saying is like that. That's why I want to kind of really hit this, because I don't want that to go away as being a small thing. Because to me, it's hard when a man decides he wants to walk away from his kids. And we see what society said about it. Men, well, I'll be damned if I'm not going to basically ring the bell when a woman decides to walk away from her children and act like it's no big deal. Now, that's just my personal interpretation, because children need both of their parents, father and mom.
Okay, but I'm thinking like she felt like all he know how to do is work. He can't take care of these kids. He'll take me back. I think that's what she believed.
A good possibility, yes.
And like I said, no, I can do bad by myself.
There it is. So
But,
7 children, if I'm correct, at that point, you take upon yourself to raise as a single father.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Now, how do things start to formulate at that point when she decides to walk away with gentleman?
Okay. Well, what happened is, my family is tight. My mother's baby brother, Uncle Nelson, didn't live that far from me. And he wasn't married. He was staying with some girl or something. So he moved in with me. And my uncle could do anything I could do. He can cook, clean, wash clothes. He's wonderful. He was wonderful. But he was alcoholic. And during the week, he took care of the kids, did everything had to be done, no problem. On Friday, I paid him for what he did, and he had the whole weekend to himself. And on the weekends, he'd go out and get drunk, come back Sunday, the kids would bring him back to life, and then the next week would start. I'm giving it to you like it is.
I love that, man. I love it. It is what it is, boss. I love it. It goes back to it takes a village. And were there times when you were raising the 7? Now, here again, the twins were 9 months old. Think about that. I want to look at that for a second. As babies, 9 months old, you decide to separate yourself and move on and be with a clown. Okay. Now, when I got that out.
Okay,
now,
get it out the way.
I got out the way. It took a little while, bro. It took a little while, It took me a while to kind of get there. But, it happens every day, man. It's nothing new. Yeah. But when it happens, it doesn't get talked about. That's the point. Now, if it's the other way around, be damned if it doesn't get broadcast everywhere. You can see it in the nightly news when it happens, when the roles are reversed. I'll be damned if I'm not going to hammer it some. So my point is, it takes a village, and he knew basically he came in and helped you out to raise 7 children. 7. Bro, I mean, again, a lot of cats have been like, bro, I ain't helping you. I ain't got nothing for you. But my man came in and helped you out. And basically 7. Oh, man. Oh.
Well, my uncle was, we were more like brothers than uncles, and, because he was the baby brother of my mother. So he wasn't that much older than me per se. My mother was the first child of my grandmother, so
Okay.
she helped raise them, and she took care of them too. So.
And after a period of time when things were moving along, did she look back over her shoulder and realize things are going good and try to come back in?
Oh, I don't think she tried to come back in, but she pulled some scams on me.
Uh-oh.
I get a letter from the court about I have to give her my kids and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, what? So I didn't understand what happened. I take this letter and I go down to the courthouse and I say, well, I need to speak to this judge because I don't understand what's being said here. But what happened is the first house we moved to when we went to Maryland, she used that address to send the mail to, and I didn't respond. So now I'm telling the courts to go to hell. That's pretty much how the court looked at it.
Yes.
And the judge says to me, did she know where you lived at? I said, yeah, when she left me, I'm still in the same house that we were in when she left. So now he gets her and her lawyer and tell him what he think about him, and he canceled that, and we're going to have a new case. We're going to go take this to court. So, and by that time, I done got on the PTA, and I done did this and that, and I did a whole lot of things to help make sure the kids are happy. And so now we go to court. I got teachers, principals, everybody telling me how well the kids are. They well dressed. They come to school. They never hungry and all. So she had to prove me unfit to get the kids, and she couldn't prove me unfit. So the judge said, "Well, do you want her to pay child support?" And I say, "No. The only deficit I had was her. So she gone. I'm good."
Oh, I mean, the audacity, realistically, man, to basically come back at a period of time and to, for the most part, try to take the children away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a scamful way, like you said, and think it's going to work.
Give them an old address that I don't use to make sure I don't get the mail. So, her lawyer is the one who had to plan that. She didn't think that. I mean, and the judge knew that too. So the judge was pissed at them anyway. So,
but I mean, again, the galls, the audacity. You walked away from these children. Now you want to basically take them out of a stable environment, and that, if I had to guess, that was more aimed to hurt you, not even thinking about the children.
Yeah, but that wasn't all that happened in court. In court, they said that she could have visiting rights.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I got no problem because I still got my grandmother and my aunt and everybody in Connecticut, and and I had another brother that was still in Connecticut. Well, I had two brothers and two other sisters that they were in Connecticut. But my grandmother, I visited her like at least once every 2 or 3 months. But she basically gave me everything I needed in life. My grandmother loved me, and I knew that. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And so I said to her, she has no problem. She can have them all summer. So she says to the judge, well, I don't have no way to get them. I said, don't even worry about it, man. I'll bring them down, and that way I get to visit my people and drop kids off. So, and that's what I did for like 3 years. And every time I go, I would buy them new summer clothes and everything. But come to find out, she was living in the jungle with her one of her sisters. You know about the jungle, right?
Yes, sir.
They were over in the jungle. I'm like, my kids ain't used to that kind of stuff.
Wow.
But wasn't nothing I could do about that, because I told her she could have them for the summer. So every time they come home, they had no clothes because their cousins in the jungle were wearing all the new stuff that I bought them for the summer.
Damn.
So I was like, this is crazy. I said, from now on, y'all just wear with your old school clothes. When you come home, I'll buy you new stuff. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So that's how it went. But one year, I drive up there to pick my kids up, Nobody know where they are.
Whoa.
Nobody. And you remember Dan Blackman, police chief?
The name sounds familiar.
Well, he was police chief in New Haven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was my godfather. And I went there and I talked to him, and he said, "Well, if you got the papers, to say this, I can help you." I had to drive all the way back to Maryland because we didn't have all that stuff like today where you could just fax stuff back and forth. I drove all the way back, got the papers, came back. And once he read the papers, he made a phone call to one of her relatives and said, "Well, we got like a half hour. We're going to start picking up every member of this family till we find the kids. If they're not here in 20 minutes. And they were there.
Wow. Man. Your patience is amazing, bro. I mean, realistically.
When I was in New Haven, they had me followed and pulled over by the police. They said that I had a gun and I was looking for them to kill them and all that kind of stuff. They went down.
Here's the thing. If your father raising 7 kids that she walked away from, and it is what it is. She walked away from. A father doing an amazing job raising seven kids, all right? With the school, everyone stands up for you. It's not about the kids in her side, her thinking. Because that happens a lot in a lot of situations, even if they're trying to co-parent. It's never about the kids. Because if it was about the kids, some of the stuff you just said would never take place. Yeah. How do you come to pick the kids up and they act like they don't know where they are? How the clothes being used by other kids and it's not about the kids. And again,
her older sister was religious. They were hiding them in the church.
Yeah, that's some good religion her older sister had, boss. that's some good black old religion right there, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
And I always, my thing, don't tell me you're religious, show me you're religious. That's some good black religion right there, bro. Because realistically, that's the mentality. Because in reality, for me, they could stand up and claim they want good black fathers, but they never do. How do you treat a good black father? Because that's not how you treat a good black father. What you experience, and you talk about the church woman, come on, man. What pastor would allow that nonsense to go on in his church? I'm saying, I'm not asking, I'm just saying. So I don't want to hear about, because they don't, it's the last thing that black women want is a good black father. That's just my personal opinion. You ain't even got to comment on that. I don't care what come out of their mouth. Majority of the time, they don't want it. Because when it happens, when it's displayed, look how they play with it. Yeah. The games, she should have loved the fact that you're raising children that came out of her womb and handling a business. But no, can't love that. She chose to leave.
And like I say, that child support thing, all that did to me was like a reason for me to have to speak to her, and I didn't need that.
I hear you.
When you gonna pay? I ain't got time for all that. That's the second time. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm going to say this, Mr. Les. You're a father beyond fathers, bro. You are, man. I'm happy we're having this conversation.
I'm glad I did what I did because, like, now all my children tell me, "Dad, I'm glad we stayed with you."
Hello.
I'm glad you stayed with me too. You became something because, like, when they decided to go to nursing school and all that, they always them and 3 or 4 of their friends was at my house doing the study.
There it is.
And so I had to feed them too.
Yeah, there it is now. Now let's zero back to when they say that we glad you did what you did. Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Well, I feel good, but because I know I'm like, I think when you do the right thing, you can't pat yourself on the back. I mean, because it's something you're supposed to do. I mean, I did what I was supposed to do. And my mother offered to come in. I said, "No, Mom, we got this." You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because my mother come, I'm no longer the owner of the house. Is we gonna do this and we gonna do that? Wait a minute. We you know, I grew up in that era where you never told your mother no. When your mother said something, that it was done.
You're right. Yeah, you're
You
right.
know, no such
You
thing
even
as telling
question
your
it.
mother no.
Yeah, you didn't question it.
My mother called me over to her house one day and said, I need you to come and take this coat to your grandmother. My grandmother lived in New Haven too now. Okay, ain't no problem. But she was talking about her grandmother. And her grandma in North Carolina.
Good gracious.
And she didn't ask me, can I or will I? Well, hit $10 for gas. I ain't getting none of that. I drove down to North Carolina, gave my great grandma her coat that her granddaughter sent her because she was going to something, and my you know how they are. They had the fancy hats and coats and stuff. So my mother wanted her right.
Wow.
Took it down there, and my great grandmother, like she lived to be she was over 100. She was 100. I'm thinking somewhere around 112, something like that. She lived to be a ripe old. She knew my great grandmother met my grandchildren.
Wow.
So that's how old she was. And my great grandfather died at 97.
Okay.
And when we went to the funeral, and the preacher said, and they were married 75 years. I like to fell out. Like, Jesus. 75 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But to put a clear picture on that, from Connecticut to North Carolina, this is where you're bringing the coat. Again, with no money for gas, nothing. How far a drive is that? Because some people may not understand. I want to clear that up.
It's like a 5-6 hour ride. and back then, they only had 2-lane highway. They didn't have the 4 lanes and the big 95s and all that back then. We were going down Route 1 and all that kind of stuff. There wasn't no street lights and nothing. Like, Jesus. God.
Man, you know, it does my heart good, man, to have you here and speak on this. And there's some things in your life I don't want to put them in this episode. I want to put them in another show because you lived in raising your children. This is what a lot of men don't understand. They think that if they're fathers, they cannot have a full life. They kind of choose one or the other. And they don't realize that being a dad, you can still live a full life. You can raise your children and still have your life. And realistically, your life would be even fuller. But I say that because you and I had a conversation. And what I want to do in another show is go to other segments of your life that you basically were doing while you were being a father. And one of the most impressive, not saying the most impressive things, but one of the things that I really want to kind of go into is that, because you spoke on it earlier, so you was a boxer.
Yeah.
But there was a well-known boxer that you helped along his way to be well-known.
Oh, Sugar Ray?
Yes, sir. Sugar. Put the last name to it now, though. This Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
His uncle was my trainer, too.
Okay. So what I want to do is the next time, if you're up for it, we'll do another show. And I want to go more into greater detail because that deserved to be spoken and deserved to be told.
Oh, yeah, but I know in 1980, that's when they were planning on boxing being a sport that you could make a living. And then they had a plane crash with the boxers, so everybody just left the gym after that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But football was my thing. Like, when I played football, my football coach let you know, if you ain't on the bus, you don't play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I told him, well, I can't play, man, because I got to bring my kids with me.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like, well, you going to be there. I said, okay. and he let me drive my van, and me and my kids came right to the game. And, because, the team supplied the room and everything. So, it wasn't bad.
Okay.
The coaches' wives and some of the players' wives that came, they would watch the kids while I played, So, I mean, like I told everybody, if my kids can't go, I can't go. That's just how life is with me. If my kids can't go, why should I go somewhere my kids can't go?
Wow.
So wherever I went, they went. They traveled along with me, and we did what we had to do, enjoyed life, and they enjoyed life. You know what I mean?
If I could, man, and I say this with all seriousness, you should be the picture of single fatherhood, bro. Realistically. because
Well,
that,
see, what you say is true because I am to my children. That's what counts to me.
yes,
You know,
yeah,
and I don't care what nobody else say, but
yeah,
my
and
kids,
that's a good
if they
point
call me
because
today and need something, I'm still there for them. It ain't like they got grown and I left them on their own.
that's the awesome point because realistically, what anyone else think of really doesn't matter. What's really important is the way your children know and feel about you as a parent. That's the ultimate right there. What they feel in their heart about you as a father or a mother is what's really important.
Right.
And we get carried away with, if a kid dressed well, oh, she's a good mom. What the hell is that? Anybody can go to the store and buy clothes. Talk to the child. See what the child really thinks of what's going on between the mom and the dad. And as I said earlier when we started, man, helping your daughter out, training your daughter. When a grown woman to me speaks highly of her father, just reverberate and say some things, man. There's a reason why. There are reasons why. And because, it's not like we don't have roles as father. We have roles in our children's lives. When those roles are met, look what happened with the child. Look how they come back and bring it back to you. Look how they reverberate it. Look how they can't stop talking about it. That joy, because the impact that you've had on their lives, man. And I applaud you, bro. I applaud you.
Every summer I would get 3 or 4 of my grandsons and they stayed the summer with me. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
We're gonna use some hammers. We're gonna use some monkey wrenches and pipe wrenches. You ain't gonna be afraid to use your hands to do something. You know what I mean? Grown man,
I haven't heard the word monkey wrench in years.
Get that. My daughters, I actually taught all of them how to change tires.
Look out.
And then I bought an old Volkswagen Beetle that I taught them all how to drive stick shifts.
Nice.
So if you ride with somebody and they got a stick shift and something happened to them and you can't drive, what good are you?
Wow.
You know?
Yes, sir, man.
So my daughters, I had a couple of them, once I got my own shop, they come in the shop and when I get on a creeper, they get on a creeper too. Asking me 1,000 questions. I'm like, yeah, okay. But then, I know my family, because my great grandmother, my great grandmother, none of them ever went to nursing homes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When they got older, like my great grandmother, when she was 100 something years old, all her kids were retired.
Wow.
She had 13 of them.
Okay.
And so every week or every 2 weeks, one of them would come and stay with her in her house.
Nice. That's family.
My mother moved from Connecticut back to North Carolina so she could get her turn because she was the oldest grandchild.
Wow. Family.
Yeah.
That's family. Yes.
And then I'm trying to think of the street that it was 55 something, right next to the firehouse there. But where my grandmother lived, and she lived there till she died. And her daughter, it was a 2-family house, so her daughter lived upstairs and she lived downstairs.
Wow.
And they took care of her. You know what I mean? And then with my mother was I don't know, they said a diabetic, but she needs this and that, and I offered to give her my kidney or lung or whatever she needed. And they told me, well, she got too many other sicknesses to make it worth doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So my brother Larry had a motorcycle accident and died, and he was the one in North Carolina basically taking care of my mother.
Okay.
So I went to North Carolina because he had, and the thing is, he had his 3 kids.
Okay.
You know, but he was raising his 3 kids.
There it is.
But he had, I don't know, he stopped drinking and then he started having babies at 50 years old. So his kids were 3, 4, and 5 when I got him.
Wow.
So when he died, they said that the mother was on drugs and they don't know what's going to happen to the kids. They said, don't worry about it. I looked at them and said, look, y'all got a new daddy. Let's go. I threw a bunk bed in the back of my van and came on home.
Look out, man.
And
yeah. Bless, man.
I don't know, maybe a year after that, my mother was coming down. I was starting to go back and forth to North Carolina too much to take her to doctor appointments and everything. So I brought her to Maryland with me and took care of my mother until she passed.
Okay.
So I had my mother, my brother's kids, and my mother had adopted a little girl that she had raised all her life. I had got, I had to get Justine too. You know what I mean?
Wow, man.
So I had some kids in my day.
And you did an awesome job, boss.
Yeah.
Awesome job. That heart of yours is huge, man. That heart of yours
Well, I tell
is
people, man,
huge.
I'm blessed and highly favored. I mean, I have no issues. No, my health is good. I'm still doing what I need to do. I ride my bike. I run. I do whatever. You know what I mean?
That's the ultimate right there, man. I'm happy to hear it. Good health.
Yeah.
And, we ain't going to shy away from age. How old are you, sir?
73.
There it is.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
I'm
going to be 100. That's my goal.
You'll get there as well. But, another thing that I want to just piggyback and say about that, man, you say you're blessed and highly favored. And that's not even surprising to me. Because when we do right by God's children, he blesses us that way.
Right. That's what I tell people. And like you tell me, it ain't about going to church and giving out donations. It's about what you do for people.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody want to, oh man, I know you ain't do nothing but give somebody some money that has some money. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? I ain't got time for that one.
Oh, when black men talk, it is what it is, baby.
Yeah, it's just like my mother's middle sister passed away about a year and a half ago. And when I went down there, I told my cousins she has, 2 daughters that's taking over everything, and the house that they live in, the family cemetery is in the backyard. And
wow.
And the first mobile home that they put on the property is still there, but they built a brick house behind it and all that. And so it was a whole lot for 2 young ladies to try to take care of. So I told them, whenever you need help, call me.
Wow.
I got that call one day, and I went down there and redid the mobile home and, cleaned up and scraped popcorn ceilings and painted and, and they like, man, when you said it, I didn't think you meant it. I'm like, I ain't gonna never say nothing I don't mean. I mean, if I'm not sure about something, I say I'll see what I can do. But if I say, call me, I'm coming. That's
there it is.
I mean, so, and I keep telling guys, I say, don't say nothing if you can't do it.
Yeah.
I tell my nephew, he always talking. Look, stop talking to me and do something. Because you're always talking about what you're going to do, but you ain't never done that.
Oof.
So why are you talking?
Wow.
You mean? Yeah, I'm mean. I'm going to stay mean. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Les, we're going to stop this at this point, bro. I thank you for coming on.
All right, man, I enjoyed myself.
Oh, I enjoyed you, man. This ain't the invitation is still there. I want to get you back, man. We're going to go a little deeper into your personal life. I want to hear about you and Sugar Ray and other things that
I like to talk. I ain't got no problem talking.
Yes, sir. So we'll get you back. I appreciate you coming on this time,
man. Man. Well, like I say, I'm going to get them the site. So a couple of my daughters wanted the site so they can see what.
Oh, yeah. We'll take care of that. Hold on for a second. I'm going to put the lid on this and I'll talk to you 1 second. Folks, here it is, man. This is what you get when black men really talk. Realistically, when we just pull the curtains back and open up and have a conversation, not afraid, this is what you hear. And he's not the only gentleman out there. Let's not act like Mr. Les is the only. There's other brothers out there who have been raising their children. But guess what? They don't get the attention. They don't get the notification or the notice that they deserve. But we are going to give it to them. I don't care what other network, what the platform decides not to, because a lot of noise is going on out there. But black men have been holding down for a long period of time, and we don't get the attention or the notoriety we deserve. And it doesn't matter because we're going to do it anyway. With that being said, God loves you. I love you too. And you take care of yourself.
All right. Well, you have a good day.